Sandi Rosner, and I am Lady Ann.
And I am Sandy.
So glad to be here with you guys today. Welcome, Sandy. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for having me. It's the end of our Starbright knit along.
It is. Oh my
Sad,
gosh.
but celebrate at the same time.
And you guys have had some beautiful projects.
It's amazing to see all the colors that people have come up with, and the color combinations have just been stunning. As you can see, my Starbright
Oh my gosh.
scarf is complete.
That is gorgeous.
I am just so happy with it. I think it turned out really beautiful.
And for anybody who sees this later, by the way, Sandy's pattern is called Starbright, and
Yes.
it has both a scarf and a wrap. So you can
Yes.
take your choice. They're both in the pattern.
And this is the scarf size. The main picture in the pattern is the wrap size. And we had people doing both as part of the knit along. And we had people using sparkly yarn and non-sparkly yarn and sport weight and fingering weight. So it's been a lot of fun just to see the wide variety of results people have gotten.
The color combinations, oh my gosh.
Yes.
So many.
Yes.
And I was very, oh, there's your sister. Hey, Jennifer. I loved there was one that was like a all kind of, what am I trying to say? Neutrals. And it was really pretty. Somebody did one with sandcastle and something. I
Oh,
can't remember.
sandcastle, and it was one of the grays.
It was,
It-
granite. I
yes.
think it was sandcastle and granite, which
That
are both
was
Hand Dyed Diva colors.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, really pretty.
Yeah.
So tell us what we are going to look at today.
Well, what we're going to do today is to talk about how to turn your Starbright from what it looks like when it comes off the needles to what this one looks like, which is after it has been blocked. So I'm going to show you today how to block your Starbright. Now, what I've got is a small swatch we're going to block because, as we all know, Lady Ann says blocking is sexy.
Well, and I have to tell you guys something. So Sandy asked me to grab some music. So when you do videos, there are music services that you can get music from. Oh, there's Deb. Hey.
Hi, Deb.
You can get music from these services. And she said, let's get some James Brown sounding. Because I'm like, yeah, blocking is sexy. Couldn't find that. Couldn't get into it today. So guess what happened? I went into our video software and I thought, oh, there's something that says party noise. That is not sexy, you guys. I know you couldn't hear it, but
No.
it goes. That's it.
That is not sexy.
I know. I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can let you hear it again because it's just funny. Did you hear it? So I tried, and there's Sarah Miller. Hey.
So that's a clue for anybody who's wondering how to get it on. That sound.
That's not how you get it on.
No.
That's
No.
when you look at the person and you're like, yeah, no. Or there is this.
Also not sexy.
That's more self-protection.
Well, it's air horn at the football game, maybe.
Look,
Maybe.
I'm not Justin Timberlake. I did not bring sexy back today. I'm sorry, but blocking is sexy. So tell us why.
Well,
why is it so sexy?
Blocking is sexy because what it does is it takes your yarn and your piece of knitting and it relaxes it. And it settles all the stitches into place and it gives you the opportunity to really make them look their best. So since blocking the full scarf would have been way too much sexy for the purposes of this video,
That's right.
and I think you've got a picture of my full scarf
I
being
do.
blocked. So I blocked
There
mine
it
in
is.
advance, and you can see it's huge. It's a big thing, and so that just wouldn't work. So what I did is I've made a swatch, and I'm going to take you step by step through how we do the blocking. So I have here my swatch, which
Oops.
I soaked this morning.
Get Sandy back in there. There she is.
So I soaked it this morning. Excuse me. And as you can see, it is still drippy wet. And it was soaked simply in warm water and a couple of drops of wool wash. And what I used on this is soak, which is what I happen to have at home. Lady Ann has Eucalan here in the shop.
But it's the same basic idea.
Yes, just a couple of drops of wool wash. If you don't have wool wash, use a couple of drops of your shampoo. There's not
Get
that big a
you square
difference
there.
between wool and what's growing out of your head. So shampoo works in a pinch. So what I'm doing is I'm squeezing it fairly firmly so it stops dripping. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to lay it out on the towel.
There you go.
And I'm going to roll it. Now, if this was my full scarf or my full wrap, I would be using a beach towel as opposed to this little hand towel. And now I'm squeezing it.
You know, I've actually stood on those.
I do too. I walk on them.
It's kind of awesome, and it kind of feels great on the arches of your feet, in case you're wondering.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to move the water out of the wool and into the towel.
That works great, don't you think?
Yes.
It really, I mean, it's good.
So now, instead of drippy, you can already see that this has gotten way more open than whatever just came off of your needles.
Yes.
But it's still kind of limp, and now it needs to be tamed. So I've got great blocking mat here that Cheers to You carries. If you don't have a blocking mat, and I don't use blocking mats at home, what I have at home is my floor. And so I have an old polyester tablecloth that I spread out on the floor.
That's what that was. Okay.
That's why you see that color in the background of my blocking shots. I use a polyester tablecloth because I want something that's not going to hold the moisture.
Right.
A lot of people will block on top of a towel. I find that holds the moisture and it doesn't dry as fast. So I spread out an old polyester tablecloth on the floor and then I pin right into the carpet.
Okay.
And that works great. But because we're so fancy and deluxe here, we have a blocking board. I have blocking wires.
Let me see if I can brighten that up a little bit. Let you guys, there we go. Now you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay.
So these are the blocking wires, and these are stainless steel. They are fairly rigid.
We sell these as well.
Yes.
They come in sets.
They do. These are the short ones that are 18 inches long. The set comes with both 18-inch and 36-inch wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by doing my ends. And to do the end, I'm going to take my blocking wire and run it through each point, just catching underneath that first stitch. There we go, at the tip of each point. And I'm going to do that in each point all the way across.
What's your point, Sandy?
My point is we want those points to be accentuated and be pretty.
Yes. And what if they're looking at that and they can't find, help them understand how to find the appropriate place to put that wire through.
Okay. What I'm looking at is this line of stitches that forms that rib in the pattern. And I'm going all the way out to the edge and I'm finding the stitch that's the end of that.
Yes.
And I'm slipping it underneath.
And they want to be sure not to put it through one strand, correct?
You want to go under two.
Right.
Yeah, and in fact, I see here that there's one where I did do only one strand, so I'm going to back it up.
Okay, I didn't even see that.
And fix that. I thought you were busting me.
No, I really wasn't. I didn't notice it. I was looking at the other stitch. Because if you do one and you pull, it's going to
distort it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do the same thing at the other end.
Okay. There you go.
And so we're not going to go to the edge. We're going to the point. And now we're finding that rib that's between the yarn overs, that line of stitches between the yarn overs. And I'm going to go in the base or underneath the stitch at the base of each of those lines. So that's how we put the wires in our ends.
Okay.
Now we need to put wires along the side edges.
Do y'all know how much quicker this is than running a line of T-pins all the way along the edge?
Which you can do. If you don't have blocking wires, can you just pin it out with pins? Yes, you can. It'll take you a long time.
I don't have wires at home.
Don't you really?
No, it's
I
funny.
could not live without them.
Well, everybody thinks when you have a yarn shop that you personally own everything, and I don't. I don't have all of these things at home, so you're making me think I need to get some wires.
If you're going to be knitting lacy patterns, wires are invaluable.
They have to.
So now along the side edge, what I'm doing is I'm catching between that 2-stitch slip stitch edging and the lace pattern.
You really, I mean, if they don't precisely do exactly where you're doing it, they just need to make sure that they are not catching just one strand of something, right?
Yes.
You want to get as close as you can, but this is not, you know.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting into that ditch and you're getting somewhere else close, the more consistent you are, the better your results will be.
And I'm telling you, blocking, I know it's silly to say blocking is sexy, but honestly, you don't see the beauty of a project until you block it.
That is so true. You go right up to that end. So now I'm all along that side. Now, if I was doing the full wrap or the full shawl, it's going to take more than one wire to get the length of it. When I did my scarf, it actually took 3 of the 36-inch wires along the edge.
Okay.
So what do you do when you get to the end of the wire and you start another one?
Is this a picture?
Yep, that's our overlap picture.
Okay, I think it is pin. It's not pin and bar. Let me see if it's this one. Is it that?
There you go.
Okay. So let me do the close-up of that so they can see it even better.
What we've done here is I've overlapped my wires by about an inch, so that the 2 wires are going through those stitches. And the reason that I do that is because when I pin them out, I want that edge to be straight. And it's much easier to maintain a straight edge there if you've overlapped the wires. So if you're using more than one wire along the edge, which you're going to need to, overlap them by about an inch, and that'll help you maintain a straight edge.
That is an awesome tip.
So I am now going to put my wire in my other side edge.
Oops. Scoot your hands that way. Up. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And this is the edge. You can see where I've carried my yarn up the side. You can every now and then see the contrast color peeking through. I am just ignoring that, and it's not bothering me at all.
Deb Fester said, must resist urge to buy blocking wires. And Kathy Hammond said they're really good investment.
If you're going to be knitting lacy patterns, it is a very worthwhile investment.
Jennifer asked if we could zoom out a little. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Not like that. Hang on, Jennifer. I don't want to zoom out too much because I want people to be able to see what she's doing. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So now I've got my blocking wires in on all 4 sides.
Okay.
And it's time to do some pinning.
There we go.
I have my handy dandy box of T-pins here. And the reason I like T-pins is that they're easy to handle, and the T at the top of the pin will catch those blocking wires really well and hold them in place. So I'm going to begin by pinning the wire, not the knitting, along a straight edge. And this is where having blocking mats is a lovely thing because it's got nice little grids put on it.
There you go.
When I do this at home, I am eyeballing what's straight and then using a yardstick in order to keep my sides parallel.
I love the grids.
The grids are terrific.
It's just very helpful.
Now I'm going to gently stretch the other end. It's pinned. Oh, the mat.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, I'm pinning the wire.
There's Gay Shaver. OMG, I'm sorry I'm late. No gold star for you, Gay Shaver. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Always gets a gold
She's
star.
Awesome.
She's my girl.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay, so now I've pinned out the 2 ends, and that has determined my length. You want to stretch it out to where it's comfortable. You don't want to feel like you're really having to strain it, but you do want to give it some stretch. So now I'm going to take my sides and I'm going to this wants to stretch farther than this. Oh, it'll go that way. That's good. So,
see if I can get it even a little further out.
Again, I'm pinning the wire.
It's the wrong way, you guys. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm trying to get it as far out so you can see. There you go.
So I pin the wire, not the knitting. Now I'm going to go the other way. And again, I'm giving it a fairly assertive stretch, but I don't want to strain it. I don't want it to feel like it's fighting me.
And doesn't it depend on the project?
It does.
I mean, you really need to look. You don't want to block out ribbing, for example. Most of the time, you don't want to block it flat.
Well, and you want to block with something like a lace pattern, particularly with this where it's got the zigzag.
Right.
You want to block it so it looks beautiful but not distorted.
And how much should they anticipate it? What's the shrinkage amount normally? After?
How much does it spring back when you pull the pins out?
Yes.
What I found on mine is I blocked the scarf to about 12 inches wide.
Okay.
When I pulled the pins, it lost about a half inch. So
Bye,
not
thank
much.
you.
So it didn't come back much at all, about a half inch.
Okay.
Now, if you're doing a big piece, because this is small, I only need to pin this at the corners. If you're doing the full scarf or the full shawl, your wires are going to want to bow in the middle. Okay?
Okay.
So what you want to do then is after you've established where your corners are, you want to come through and pin through the knitting inside the wire, only enough pins to keep them from bending.
So I'll show this again. This is the same. This is your example of overlapping wires, but the way you've put the pin is how you would recommend they always do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what you can see there is that I've put the pin right at that point where the wires overlap.
But even if even if you don't have a situation with overlapping wires, positioning the pin exactly next to and inside the wire is the way to go.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And
gotcha.
Only enough to pins to keep it from bowing.
Okay.
We have one more photo in there of mine blocking the corner detail.
I believe there we go.
There you go. So you can see on that. Can you see the pin in the middle of the top edge, or is it?
No, that
okay.
wasn't in the picture.
Okay.
Or I don't see it here anyway. What is your thought on that?
Well.
Oh, to keep it from bowing at the top? Okay.
Yes.
So where you guys see the points at the top, that's what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You would want to put a pin in the middle so that whole thing, because the wires are not
that
stiff.
Rigid. Right.
Yeah, so you may want to put a pin up there. Okay, so show us on here how you would do that.
So what I would do on this is I would make sure this is nice and straight.
There we go.
And then I would put the pin right there.
Okay.
So again, what we're doing is we're just holding the wire taut and keeping it from bowing. Now for my scarf, which used wire at each end, 3 long wires along each side, I probably used a total of about 18 pins.
Okay, all right.
So
that makes sense.
If you don't have wires, can you still block your piece? Absolutely. You're going to need a lot more pins to keep straight edges.
Okay.
Because if you try to stretch it out and you don't have wires, what you'll get is you'll get little scallops along the edges, which is a look, probably not the one we're going for in this case.
Okay. All right.
And that is all there is to it. Now I'm going to leave it to dry. I usually leave it overnight because I'm lazy, but something like this dries actually pretty quickly, probably in 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
You'd be ready to pull the pins, pull out the wires,
there you go.
And you're ready to wear it.
And you can always put a fan on your work. Like we've done that at home and on the yarn that we dry. But if you have your stuff blocking and you have a pedestal fan or a ceiling fan, I've done that a million times.
Well, when I do my blocking on the floor, I do it in the guest bedroom. And then I turn on the ceiling fan in that room and close the door and just leave the ceiling fan on it to stir the air around. And I think that helps it dry faster.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah.
So that's
it.